Hello, hello, hello.
When the new education policy 2020 was announced by the government, by combination of the subjects. Good fortune here in this auditorium and on the digital platform. I am Mohammed Shahid Dair, School Captain, M.C.KEJRIWAL Vidyapeeth, and your host for today's session. And I welcome each one of you to Career Conclave 2022 Multidisciplinary Learning in the Light of National Education Policy 2020. In an endeavor to understand the nuances of the policy and its impact on our choice of courses and career, M.C.KEJRIWAL Vidyapeeth is conducting today's panel discussion, wherein experts will deliberate on the multidisciplinary learning as approved in the NEP 2020. But before we begin today's session, I will request all of you to kindly rise for our school anthem.
कर्मयज्ञबन्धाय तत्कर्मयज्ञबन्धाय सा
Now I have a very pleasant duty to perform. I will call upon a very special gentleman, our chairman, Mr. Kishan Kumar Kejriwal ji, to address the esteemed panel and the august gathering. Sir, if it kindly. Yes. Oh, so first, okay. This morning we actually the stage is being set. Sir, if it kindly oblige.
Good morning, respected panelists, my dear students and parents. It is a proud privilege and honor to have among us Ms. Sudeshna Banerjee, Ms. Varsha Karunakaran, Mr. Amitabh Mohan, and our director, Mr. Neelkantha Gupta, who, in spite of their busy schedule, have very kindly given their consent to be part of this program. We are also delighted to have students of other schools who have joined us virtually to attend this seminar and get the best out of it. I will welcome you all to this Career Conclave 2022, which I hope will surely serve as a beacon of light for the students of choosing their career. The new economic system, which is changing dynamic and evolving careers, has created new opportunity for students, but more often parents and students do not have access to timely and credible information about available career choices. The pandemic has brought several disruptions in the education sector all over the world. While learning has not stopped completely, its delivery has undergone a sea change in the last 2 years, impacting learning's outcome and creating a generation of disengaged students. With ambiguity and uncertainty looming large over the students' head, the pressure to make career and higher education choice that will have lifelong impact on their life, and it is the need of the hour that every school must step forward.
Hello, 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 hello.
Their child understand the various fields such as sports, music, dance, painting, hospitality, paramedical, etc. It is my earnest request to each and every parent present here to break the shackles of age-old belief that without a person being a doctor, an engineer, or at the most attaining degree like MBA or CA, one cannot be a reputed member of the society. The movie like Tare Zameen Par, Iqbal, MS Dhoni, Chak De India, to name a few, are some inspirational movies that throw light on these aspects. We all have appreciated this movie, but time has now come to implement this in reality. The National Policy 2020 seems to be a visionary, practical, progressive, and comprehensive. It has wide ambit from early childhood to vocational education. M.C.KEJRIWAL as a school always focus on the holistic development of the students, and I am extremely delighted to announce that the organization, our school, M.C.KEJRIWAL, has decided to offer students the new age multidisciplinary learning in light of NEP 2020, which would surely open up new prospects for you all students. Our respected panelists are here with us, who with their vast experience and expertise would enlighten us about the benefit of multidisciplinary learning and the career opportunity in the respect of NEP 2020. In this context, let me make everyone aware that NEP 2020 is applicable irrespective of any board across the country. With no further ado, I would request our panelists to take over and guide our students to make their future brighter and contribute toward the betterment of the society, country, and world at large. Thank you. Thank you.
Inspiring word. This morning we have with us an amazing and diverse panel whom I have the absolute honor of introducing to all of you. First, I will call upon Ms. Sudeshna Banerjee to take her seat on the stage. Ma'am is the Associate Editor, The Telegraph. Next, we have Ms. Varsha Karunakaran, Assistant General Manager, Sales and Marketing, Conclave Club, Ambuja Neotia. Ma'am, we are thrilled to have you amongst us. Then we have Mr. Neelkan Gupta. Sir doesn't actually need an introduction. He is Director M.C.KEJRIWAL. And finally, I will call upon our moderator for today's session, psychologist Amitabh Mohan, founder and managing director, HLS India. In the times when many still dismiss counseling as pop psychology and regard the whole rigmarole as a waste of time, this man stands out with undying belief. Amitabh Mohan, a leading psychologist of India, believes that effort to use psychology is not to quantify life by multiple choice tests and categorize human behavior as an idealistic list of do's and don'ts. Focus is to sort out real or imaginary dilemmas and to analyze and motivate people. His master's in psychology is from Lucknow University with specializations in clinical psychology, industrial psychology, and environmental psychology. He has undergone training in Family Health Communication Management Program from the faculty of Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, USA. He did a training of trainers from Center for Educational Development and Planning, Washington. He was also a member of the HRD Development Program conducted by Indian Institute of Health Management and Research, Jaipur. An HRD consultant and a popular trainer who has been counseling and training managers, doctors, bureaucrats, supervisors, NGO coordinators, parents, teachers, counselors, and students. He inspires, informs, counsels, and trains people and has helped more than 4 lakh people to realize their true potential and proceed on the path of personal growth and fulfillment. He has covered a journey of more than 650 institutes from academic and corporate sector. He has helped set up several academic institutions within the last 2-3 years in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal. Mr. Mohan is also the founder and managing director of the School Times, a popular media channel. He hosts 2 popular shows on this channel, Ed Talk with Amitabh and A Word with the World. Mr. Mohan has collaborated with organizations of international repute like UNICEF, World Bank, Catholic Relief Society, etc., to impart his expertise in the field of psychology, management, and human resource. He has co-authored a paper on the rights of child and optional protocols on the involvement of children in armed conflict and on the sale of children, child prostitution, and child, a project with UNICEF or Government of UP, and also conducted workshops for the police of UP on image building. He kept himself in touch with the grassroots needs and psyche of society by being involved in social work and used his professional learning for the benefit of slums and street children. His initiative in this direction was consolidated in the form of an NGO Disha, of which he is the founding director. He is a much sought-after speaker in the corporate as well as academic world. The simplicity of his communication, purposeful sense of humor, common sense approach, and clarity of thought have motivated and helped many. He has the credit of having conducted and coordinated more than 3,500 counseling and training workshops across the country since 1992. He has worked in slums for slum dwellers at Lucknow for 7 years for their literacy and health and hygiene. Mr. Mohan's articles and columns are published in various newspapers and magazines, namely The Pioneer, The Hindustan Times, The Times of India, Statesman, etc. He has more than 300 articles and several research papers to his credit. Sir, I officially hand over the proceedings of the session to you.
Mohammed Shahid Dair. It was a very generous introduction. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the Conclave, Career Conclave 2022? Are you? Are you ready? Well, I could hear my audience in the physical mode with all due protocols being followed, and I welcome all our audience on social media platforms, Zoom for connectivity for all the members who are registered to be in our online platform, M.C.KEJRIWAL social media platform, Facebook, etc., the school time social media platforms. So welcome everyone to Career Conclave 2022. And I thank the chairman and all the organizing members of M.C.KEJRIWAL Vidyapeeth School for taking this initiative to talk about multidisciplinary learning in the light of NEP 2020. Friends, why this is important and why this panel discussion today? When we talk about NEP and COVID has almost come hand in hand together. And there's been a lot of online things that have been going on. So while there's been a lot of discussion and debate that's been going on, and it's time that we visualize our future with the essence of a reality, and that is New Education Policy 2020, bringing about major overhaul in the education scenario in India. Friends, one of the very important key elements, if you go on the net, the document of NEP available, you go on page number 36, chapter 11, from 11.1 to 11.12, it talks about multidisciplinary learning dimensions. There's been very interesting and intriguing changes taking place. While I was doing a homework, while I was trying to develop an insight into NEP, I came across a lot of documents. And one of the documents was also a clarification from the AICT, All India Council of Technical Education. And there's already efforts going on in integrating this multidisciplinary dimension. You know, in fact, I have brought some printout to educate and inform you. So far, our awareness is that when we talk about engineering, the natural subject streams that come to our mind is physics, chemistry, mathematics. But new education policy, when they talk about this multidisciplinary dimension, the flexibility and innovation as the core component, they have brought in, done away in a proposed document and policy which is approved. Of course, implementation will have its own deadlines and will take its own time. It says that now even physics and maths in times to come in the light of new education policy will not be the compulsory requirement to become engineer. Of course, there's a lot of debate, a lot of hue and cry, which is going on. Academicians are debating this. You cannot do away with mathematics and physics for being engineer. But then the policy says, instead of making these three, earlier also there were choices with chemistry and others, but now even physics and maths is kind of not the compulsory requirement. It says the subject bouquet which is given, entrepreneurship, business studies, engineering graphics, agriculture, technical vocational subjects, biotechnology, information practices, biology, information technology, electronics, computer science. Now, out of the pool of these subjects, if you have any three in your 11th, 12th, you can go for appearing for IITs also. So that means if you have a subject like information, entrepreneurship, business studies, or biotechnology, you're still eligible. That is what the kind of flexibility and the dimension that new education policy is trying to bring in. Of course, it will have its own phase-wise implementation, but then this is the change this whole education scenario is undergoing. Just a few days back, I came across an article in the media, and it says, IIM Ahmedabad is doing away, for doing a management course from IIMs, which are the premier institutions in India. They are saying that graduation is not going to be the necessary eligibility criteria. Graduation degree is being done away as an eligibility criteria. So that means they are saying if you have it in you and if you can compete in the competitive exam with the rest, you're most welcome to study with them and be a graduate from the best institution in the country. Now, all these changes are coming because of this multidisciplinary learning dimension that is being incorporated in the new education policy. And that is why this panel discussion becomes very, very important. M.C.KEJRIWAL Vidyapeeth. I have another clipping, and information. M.C.KEJRIWAL Vidyapeeth as an institution is already aligning multidisciplinary learning in the subject combinations they offer. I remember when we were growing up, hum jab bade ho rahe the, so there were a lot of, science is the best, commerce next, humanities rest. That was a kind of mindset. There was a mental, your mindset was there that X subject stream is better than Y, or Y is better than X. Those kind of prevailing thought process was there. There's a genesis. I have a theory to that. The reason was at that point of time, after plus 2, there were only 2 careers, generally, medical, engineering. So parents used to say, by 11, 12 tak, to science hona chahiye. Right? And schools used to have a very simple line written in the form, you will be allotted your subject stream. I repeat, you will be allotted your subject stream, subject choice as per your merit. Quote unquote, as per your merit. They never said higher merit will be allotted science and lesser merit will be allotted other subjects. They said you will be allotted your choice of subjects as per your merit. That means जिसके ज़्यादा number आए उसके पास choice होगी. लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं, somewhere in this whole rigmarole, we forgot the basic essence. And the essence that we forgot, because everyone was applying, there were limited seats for every subject. So when we were applying in our times, right? So we were operating from a mindset कि भाई 12th तक science ले लो, engineering, medicine में नहीं होगा, तब कुछ और देखेंगे. Because most of the other career opportunities were after graduation, after graduation. So with that particular perspective, everyone used to apply for science first. And the people with the higher merit were getting science. Gradually people forgot that they were exercising choice. Everyone started thinking, अगर science लेना है तो ज़्यादा number लाने पड़ेंगे. And that was the first mistake, and that's where the spoiling took place. किसी भी career में, किसी भी subject stream में अगर अच्छा करना है, if you want to do well in any career, be it engineering, be it management, be it chartered accountancy, be it journalism, be it mass communication, be it law, you have to study well. So it is not that X subject needs you to study more and Y subject with lesser studies also can be managed. And that's where the root of the problem has come. With this multidisciplinary learning as an emphasis in higher education and in the basic education, elementary education, there's an emphasis coming. It's not about the stream. It's about your choices. I repeat, it's not about stream. It's about your choices. And to talk about the power of choice, to talk about this relevance of multidisciplinary learning, we have such an eminent panelist with us to share their experience with you. And friends in the physical mode directly connected to us right there in front and on the social media platforms. Please feel free at any point of time. You have a question. Those on the social media platform, please put in your query, your name, and we have professionals on the set who are going to pass on your questions and queries to us, and we are going to take as many we can. Those who are here in the physical mode, sitting in this Malay Manch or the auditorium of M.C.KEJRIWAL Vidyapeeth, you have a slip of paper. As and when you have questions and queries, you raise your hand, you'll get a volunteer coming to you, and you write your query on those slip of paper. They will come to us, and we'll try to take as many questions and queries we can take. Our future and the new education policy and the multidisciplinary learning. So friends, introducing our first panelist, and I would request all the panelists, with your permission, we are going to have a few minutes of your deliberation so that everyone can put our perspectives to our audience, and then we will take up the questions and queries and we'll build our interaction. I hope that is comfortable with everyone. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, media and journalism, people who are journalists, unki nazar har taraf rehti hai. Right? People who are, the reporters who are into media, वो ये भी देखते हैं कहाँ क्या सही हो रहा है, वो ये भी देखते हैं कहाँ क्या गलत हो रहा है, क्योंकि अक्सर जो सही नहीं होता है वो न्यूज़ नहीं बनता है, लेकिन जो गलत होता है वो न्यूज़ ज़रूर बन जाता है. और कलम चाहिए, जहाँ गलती होगी वहाँ पकड़ ज़रूर आ जाएगा. Right? So वैसे ही पैनी नज़र होती है, the sharp eye. We have people with a background of journalism, and we have a very, very eminent, very popular journalist, and who has given 2.5 decades of her life to mass media, taking news to people, and that is Sudeshna Banerjee ji, Associate Editor, The Telegraph, one of the leading news dailies in West Bengal and in India. And Sudeshna Banerjee ji comes with, besides being her experience as a journalist and a reporter, she comes with a very, when I was going through her, I have everyone's profile on my mobile. I try to keep a bit of edited version with me. And when I was going through her profile, what I realized, she's an avid sports person. She has not missed a single international match where India is playing in our Eden Garden since 1983. She's a sports enthusiast. Right? She has been, she has authored a book on, the cultural heritage with a special focus on Durga Puja. She's been author of that. In fact, ये जो अभी heritage status grant हुआ है हमारी Calcutta West Bengal की Durga Puja को, she is one of the signatories in the appeal petition that has been filed, and that is the eminence and that is the versatility Sudeshna Banerjee ji brings. That is the experience she brings to our stage and to our audience today. Ma'am, can we have your deliberation and your point of view?
Hello everyone, and a very good morning to all of you, and may I say how happy I am to see the parents of the students also here, because you do have a big say in the choices that your wards are going to make going forward. I completely agree with Amitav ji when he highlights the multidisciplinary approach being taken. It's a great opportunity, and I would urge all of you to grab it with both hands and not stick to the straitjacket formula of doing just science or just commerce. As I keep telling the younger people, sometimes I get calls from them through acquaintances trying to decide what career to take up. That don't go by what is hot in the market. Because if you are salt trying to be sugar, just because you have seen the great desserts out there on the counter, it's not going to work for you. Instead, try to be good salt and figure out where salt works. I'll start with a boy who used to freelance for me and how I have seen his career develop. This goes out especially to the parents because of a faulty choice of career that he was forced into. This boy had enrolled in an engineering college because his parents felt that engineering was the stream to take, the best career opportunity. But his heart was in humanities. Not humanities, let's say he wanted specifically to be a journalist. So he used to freelance for us on the side. We have, our campus pages where we allow freelancers to work. So he used to keep telling me, even as he approached his final year, that, ma'am, can I please join a newspaper? But sadly, when he passed out, of course, he had got an engineering degree. His parents wanted him to be an engineer, and he got a job with a very top multinational through campus placement in Hyderabad. Even when he was going away, he said, ma'am, I would have been happier if I could be a journalist. Then I met him around 4 years down the line. And I was in Hyderabad, and I gave him a call, and he, of course, came over to meet me. And one look at him, I could see that his eyes were bloodshot, deep circles. What has happened to you? He said, ma'am, I cannot share this at home because I don't want my parents to feel bad for me. But the job that I do, it's drudgery. I may be working for a big company that my father is proud to tell all our relatives and friends. But what I do is, I won't name the brand, I have 2 or 3 computers in front of me all day. In one computer, my company is, it's an online portal. All of you order things online, right? You shop online. So he is on the back end of one such company. So we have my company's portal in front of me on one screen, and on 1 or 2 more, I have the rival company's portals. So all through the day, what I am doing is, I am choosing a category, noodles. So noodles, what are the prices, what are the weightages that we are selling, what are our competitors selling? So are we at par? Are they selling at a higher price? Are we selling at a lower price? That I have to tick boxes all day, just comparing with the rivals. And I have a deadline to tick these many boxes through the day, and there's a supervisor who checks whether I have actually studied properly, whether the pricing or the weightage or the customer, the star marks that the customers give, whether that's better for us or we are lagging somewhere. That's all I do all day. If I fall short of my target, then I have to make up the next day. And he told me, ma'am, I am still better off because there are other departments where even if they take, their seniors find out that his login is not registering at some activity for some amount of time, some minutes, which is longer than the stipulated toilet break, they get a mail immediately asking them to explain why this long absence, no work is getting done. So you realize that he's an engineer with a big company. Maybe that's a dream many of you have. But that's why I'm saying that that day I felt bad that I did not encourage him to take up what was his passion. So see first what your children are good at, what they enjoy doing. Don't force them to go for something just because you see it, in the market that it's a highly paying job or something. It's not going to work, believe me. I'll come to my field now. When I have done my graduation and post-graduation in English honors from Jadavpur University. In those days, frankly speaking, mass communication courses were not that, in vogue. And even if the ones that were not so, reputable. So I went into college and I figured that the most popular choices then were advertising and media. By media, mostly that at that time it was print media. And of course, these days you do have I did a stint in advertising also. So if you want to, have any questions about that, I can speak about that also. In person who holds a mic in front of, big celebrities or political leaders, and that's a journalist. But believe me, there are very many, departments that go into a making of a paper. The reporter is very important, of course, but it's not the only thing that is needed. So even in reporting, there are various types, like you have a features department. So some of you who are good at creative writing, some of you would be, contributing to your school magazine also, then there is news reporting, going out on the field, if there's an accident or, there's a press conference of a political party or a sports event to be covered. These are also, again, subsections in news. No one person can cover everything. And then there are this set of designers who do the layout for our pages. In fact, even we have to have a basic sense of layout. What makes a page look good? The picture should be how big? The stories should be in how many columns to make the whole page look nice. So even if you have a knack in design, you want to take up a designer's degree, that is also a very viable option. Like we have some of the top people coming from NID, National Institute of Design, or even in our local, the art colleges, they all have a designing. Graphic design is a fantastic opportunity these days. So if you, not just print journalism, they would be needed for designing all the packages you order, like you order Kellogg's. There is someone actually to do the packet that the cornflakes come in. Then there are photographers. So if you think that the camera is your thing, and you have a bit of news approach, what to click. For instance, some of you might be clicking this particular moment for your school magazine. So, but you also got to develop a news sense. So I'll just end with saying three. What can you do right now to improve yourself? Because that's the first thing you need. Just work on yourself. First is, I would say, get your facts right. So that means even if you are forwarding a WhatsApp message, don't do it mindlessly. Apply your common sense. A lot of rubbish comes on WhatsApp. Apply your common sense whether the thing you have, whether it's credible. Check. You can Google everything, whether the information is correct before you forward. 2 is read. Read whatever you have in front of you. I mean, the more your spectrum gets wider, the better rounded personality it is that you develop. And try to write something every day. It composes your thought, mind you. It can be on anything, even maybe the India-South Africa test series if you are a sports fan. Just write about it. Or some of you, those who are attending this program, try to write about it. I'm sure your English teacher or your teachers would be happy to take a look. And then again, try to write a 300-word report and write a 1,000-word report of the same event. See if you have the mentality to have a concise, what are the basic points, the concise, approach to things, and if needed, if you can also go into detail. So these are the 3 things I think you can start doing right now. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Profound, and there were some very key points which, while listening to her, she said, get your facts right. Because if your facts are not in place, you will not be able to take the right decision for yourself in every dimension of your life, even your career. While she was sharing her experience from the media sector, even if you look at her, she has come from different background of experience. She's worked in advertising, then she's come into reporting. And they're two different genres altogether, but then because she had that versatility in her, she could adapt to those multi-dimensional approach, which now NEP is also trying to bring in, the multidisciplinary learning. Because once you have multidisciplinary learning, you can adapt to versatile environments and varied scope of work as you grow in your career ladder. Because जब आपके पास different dimensions होंगे, तो जैसे जैसे आप grow करोगे, आप different needs को adapt करोगे. While she was telling that she had 3 computer monitors and she was working on everything and the supervisor was coming and monitoring it. You know what was she talking about? She was talking about the skill of data analytics, right? And if somebody in advertising or somebody in reporting, their data analytics also becomes very, very important skills. And we have never thought, we often look at journalism or advertising more as a humanities segment. And we look at data analytics as something which is more science and mathematics. Friends, that is where NEP says, let us stop segmenting these dimensions. It's time that we become multidisciplinary in the skills that we acquire. New education policy is focusing on skill development. It's focusing on choice. And that is what she brings in, that when you are thinking about yourself, even when she was explaining that what all various aspects of work and job scope, it's not just reporting. Even the machine handling requires technicians, right? There's a data analytics required. There's a photographer required. There are editors required. So people with different and varied subject background or subject interest will find it relevant in different dimensions of that single industry itself. And that is where we need to become more and more multidisciplinary. In fact, we've already started getting the queries, and so I think the name Career Conclave 2022 itself is making a lot of our viewers and audience be ready with their question. The first slip that I picked up says that I have, it's a parent's name is given at the bottom, Ishna Kumari. Is it from the audience or from the social media? All right. Okay, so the query is, my son has decided to take physics, chemistry, maths in class 11. Please suggest the 4th alternative, which is at once easy to grasp and score marks. We are going to come to these queries gradually, but this is very interesting question which has come up, and I would like to emphasize, ये जो line आपने यहाँ पर लिखी है इस query में, that please suggest 4th alternative which is at once easy to grasp and scoring. It is to each according to his own or her own. जिसका जिसमें interest होगा, and that's what Sudeshna ji was also just now emphasizing. Look at your interest. Look at, be a salt that can dissolve and be your own salt, right? Add your own flavor to it rather than picking up somebody else's flavor. So when it comes to subject choice, I think it was loud and clear. It's about your interest. It's about your focus. It is your career plan in future. That's going to be very, very important. But this brings me to highlight this subject combinations that, I'm sure a lot of schools are now trying to align. The progressive schools like M.C.KEJRIWAL Vidyapeeth are coming up with the alignment with the new education policy. And I could see in this notice circulation, which I have laid my hand on, subjects on offer in this school. I'm using this as a sample because this is the host institution. I'm sure every school will have their own formats and combinations. Now, the beauty of this combination that I see, and which is important for this query that has come up, they don't say science, commerce, or humanities stream. There's no nomenclature. Children will not be opting for science stream or commerce stream or humanities stream. Children will be choosing subjects out of 6 groups. Now, group 1 has a choice between physics and psychology. Group 2 has choice, biology and economics. Group 3 has a choice, mathematics, business studies and history. Group 4, accountancy and geography. Group 5, commerce, political science and chemistry. Group 6, second language, physical education or computer science. Now, if I see this as a combination, it gives a flexibility and the possibility that one can opt for maths, biology and psychology. Right? Now, there's a thought process that comes that why should we take this combination? And that is $1 million question. Options are there. We should know why should we exercise that choice. And this query which has come up, what should be the fourth subject? Ishna Kumari ji, the fourth subject choice should be based on the reason why. What is it that the child wants to do in future? What is it that the child is interested in? Those would be important criteria for making that choice. If I, with my, somebody can correct me with the knowledge base that I have, even International Baccalaureate, IB, they offer in science 2 subjects, say physics and bio. Now in the original, the prevailing trend, physics, chemistry, bio, 3 science subjects are the eligibility for medical. So for the third subject, one has to take 1 extra subject. Whereas now this option provides you either you take all 3 from the science, or if you don't want to take all 3 and you have interest and you have a reason to take it for anything in future, you can choose the other alternatives. So even if gradually if you have any particular combination that you are making choice and you have a you're not sure or you have a reason and you want to be sure, please feel free to put in your queries with reference to that. So Ishna Kumari ji, to each according to his or her interest, I'm sure with gradual discussion as it builds up, you will get more insight. And that is Varsha Karunakaranji. She comes, if I look into her educational background, she comes from a humanities background as an educational qualification at a graduation level. She's a very people's person, right? So interaction with people comes naturally to her. And when she was making, when I was analyzing her career profile, I realized they are the people, why they are where they are, because they made the right choices at the right time. Because when she has her strength, you know, थोड़ी देर पहले इस प्रोग्राम के शुरू होने से पहले हम बात कर रहे थे, you know, I was just listening to her. Because she's such a great communicator. She talks beautifully. And she decided to get into a career which requires communication, which requires interaction with people. That is her forte, and that is how she made her choices of subjects as well. So after graduation in humanities, she moved into hospitality sector, right? And she chose sales and marketing because that's where her interest area and skill set was there. And then she first worked in Taj Bengal, one of the premier chain of hotels. Then she worked with HHI, one of the premier hotels in Calcutta, large chain in India as well. Then she got into one of the premier clubs in Calcutta, Conclave Club. That's where she's working as Associate General Manager at the moment. And corporate communication comes naturally to her. Connecting with people comes naturally to her. Interaction with people comes naturally to her. And because she's made that her career, she is where she has risen that fast, that rapid in this field in last more than 2 decades of her career journey. And so let us try and hear her experiences in life. And she's in a, right now where she is, वहाँ पे उस क्लब के मेंबर डॉक्टर्स भी हैं, उस क्लब के मेंबर इंजीनियर्स भी हैं, उस क्लब के मेंबर्स बिजनेसमैन भी हैं. तो इनका इंटरेक्शन हर फील्ड के लोगों से होता है, और वो जो इंटरेक्शन इनका सब हर फील्ड के लोगों से होता है, that gives her a different perspective about people, different perspective about career, different perspective about society and people. So we would like to hear her experience and her view on multidisciplinary learning, its relevance in work front, so that we can see why NAP is emphasizing on it. Varsha Karunakaranji.
Thank you so much. Good morning, parents, honorary panel members, and Kishanji, and the wonderful audience and the people who are on board with us. coming back to what everybody has just mentioned, that we're looking at a very integrated curriculum for children. We're looking at consciously breaking boundaries of subjects, doing researches on different subjects, analyzing them and putting them together. And eventually it is the children who need to decide what they want to do and what is the outcome of the choices that they are making for themselves. I feel it's a very enhanced and well-integrated, designed system of education that has come up. When I must have educated myself 30 years back, it was a more conservative approach. We didn't have so many options to choose from, since I came from a pure humanities background. But as of now, you children are blessed. You have so many opportunities. And this curriculum gives you a very nice insight on what you want to do. And there are variable subjects that they have come up with. Like Sir rightfully says, they are creating combinations in 5 categories for you in the school. So you are doing your primary subjects, and alongside you are pursuing something which is also an alternative interest of yours. So you are clubbing both of it together, and what happens is, in the long run, all of it putting together is going to be very gainful for you. Like when I started my career 30 years back, I would say, like I joined the Taj Bengal just by default. It was just a GD that I had gone for, a group discussion, and I don't know how I must have cracked it. And then I got into Taj Bengal and I worked with them for about 9 months or so. But it wasn't very challenging, and I realized I was underutilizing my potential. That was not my area. I was working for Khazana, and it did not allow me to express myself. And then I got into HHI. Apparently I used to stay down the road, so that job came by default to me. So I joined it as a vocational training, and they absorbed me after that, and they asked me to work for them in the lobby. And that's when I started realizing, I came from a different background, of course, humanities. Nothing to do with the hospitality per se, because I hold no formal degree or diploma in hospitality management. But it was just my flair and my interest to meet people. And like Sir rightfully says, I'm a people's person. I like to meet people, and I've really been blessed, and I've been an opportunist. I have made the most of every opportunity I have given to associate myself with people of different walks of life. And now I have been with the Neotia group for the last precisely 27 years. And initially when I joined them as a basic guest relation officer, which was not very challenging, but it was a 9-to-5 job, which is what I was aiming at. Slowly, gradually, my company, I had the opportunity to work with wonderful seniors, and they realized that I had way more potential. So they get me into the front office job, and they make me interact with guests. So I move into the guest relations profile from there. And then I personally start taking interest in different areas in the public relations and the marketing aspect of the business. I'm slightly creative, so that gave me another breakthrough. And then moving on from there, I started, since I was in the PR, I started making contacts, developing the business. I was looking at the revenue aspect, and then one fine day my boss tells me that we want you to do the sales for the banquets. And that's not something which I had done earlier, because that challenge was not thrown to me earlier. So then I take that up, and then I start working for the sales department, and gradually down the years, I'm heading the entire sales for the clubs, for the membership, and I've also taken up the membership marketing, which is an extremely different ballgame for me. It's not something I have done, but luckily considering that this is my area of interest, and I've been allowed to do what I have wanted to do. I've been working with Mr. Neotia, and he's very much been flexible with the kind of job I have wanted to do in the unit. I have moved into the housing unit, I have worked there, I have done the catering part of it, I have worked into the accountancy, the public relations, and now basically I'm handling the entire sales. So I look after the social segment and the corporate segment. The good part of my job is I've been allowed to do what I have wanted to do. Taking up a skill which is your line of interest and which is going to help you move forward. So when you choose and when you educate yourself, take a very wise and a very conscious decision as to what it is that is going to allow you to grow and pursue your line of interest, not anybody else's. Recently, I came across a child, a relative's son, who's been working with the ICICI Bank for the last 3 years. He's graduated from St. Xavier's. Again, a very conservative approach by the parents. He took up a nice, well-paid job, good remuneration, was happy in Bombay. But then for the last 1 year, he always was interested in pursuing a career in culinary skills. But then some of his parents were not too keen. So to please them, he worked at the bank for 3 years. He recently comes back and tells me, I'm applying for the culinary colleges. I almost fell from the sky. It's a sheer example how we work under, how we kind of give under peer pressure or parents' pressure or their aspirations and their desires, and we are fulfilling that. But end of the day, he very consciously followed his own instincts. He comes back and he tells his parents, I've pleased you, and now I'm going to please myself because the way forward is the way I want to take it. So I am not keen on the bank job. So here we children must understand what is it that we are interested, what are we capable of delivering, and what is it that will give you a job satisfaction end of the day. So when you take up a career, please take it up only for your own self. And there are lot more opportunities apart from just being an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, and other professionals. There is so much more that you can do with the subjects that has been given to you. There is so much more that you can think about and you can pursue and see how you can take it forward, how it is interesting you, and how each subject is allowing you to learn and take forward the career growth that you are looking at. Thank you.
Is on you, what you are interested in, what you are wanting to focus on. And you see, as I emphasized just before Varshaji started speaking and addressing to you, it's about converting your interests into your profession in future, because that is going to make a huge difference. And that's exactly the vision that new education policy also has, that you should be able to exercise choice. You should have that flexibility. You should develop that adaptability that the curriculum and education should provide you a base for, so that as those diverse experiences come your way in future, you should be able to adapt and grow with that in times to come. And we have interesting queries already pouring in. I hope that we'll be able to respond to majority of them. I don't promise all of them, and any query can be responded anytime. Those of you who are in the audience right here, if your slip is here, please, when I take your name, stand up so that if we want to ask any clarifying context, we would know that who I am addressing to. And this query is from Neil Datta. We have Neil here. Okay. So query says that I'm interested in physics and computer applications. Please share with me what combination of subjects should I have in class 11 so that I can explore these subjects, and what are the possible career options in this field. My friend, when we talk about physics and computer application, there are various dimensions you can take. Even if I look into the subject combinations which we have, a lot of possibilities are there. Now, for computer application, first of all, there are two pathways for career if we talk about. One is the B.Tech route, the engineering route, right? The other is your computer applications route. That is the another side. And you have specifically mentioned computer applications. Even in B.Tech, you have branches like information technology, right? Even some places are giving software engineering as a subject in B.Tech. Could be also a possibility that you can explore when you are interested in computer application. With this interest in computer application physics, if you want to go for engineering dimension, doing B.Tech, and you want to specialize in computers in times to come, it gives you the opportunity to explore both physics as well as computer. So that could be an interesting area for you to explore. Now comes a question that what subject combination should we opt for? If we go with the conventional, current prevailing practice for BTech, physics, chemistry, maths. But I've already told you the NAP is providing those flexibilities, right? So when you are making a choice, we are a source of information, but the best source of information is checking it yourself in the year when you are filling up, in the month when you're filling up, what is the latest, because we right now in this period of transition, NAP, the bill has been passed, but then implementation is in progress. So different aspects of the policy will be implemented at different points of time in reality. So before you make those choices using those flexibilities this new education policy is bringing in, you must validate the possibilities and then fill your forms there. So if we go into the conventional pattern, it would require you to have physics, chemistry, and maths. If we go into the flexible mode that NAB is proposing, those cluster of subjects which I little while earlier talked about, you take any one of them. But as you're interested in computer application in physics, maths will be a useful subject. It will not be a necessary requirement, but it will be a useful subject. Now, if you want to go for computer applications and you want to do MCA, Masters of Computer Application, now there are institutions which say that you need to have maths at +2 level and physics, chemistry is not a necessary requirement. You are eligible. There are institutions which say even if you don't have maths, you are eligible to go for Masters of Computer Application. So it provides you a lot of flexible dimension to choose. So if you are an M.C.KEJRIWAL, you have these combination of subjects. You are interested in physics, you can easily choose, in group 1 you can make a choice. Instead of psychology, you can make a choice of physics. In group 2 you have you can add economics to it if you are not keen on biology. That will, even if in future when you will take up a project, when we talk into the multidisciplinary aspect, what will be the advantage of taking economics with physics and computer application? Now, economics with computer application, tomorrow when you will say you come up with a new product, you come up with a new program, and you want to take it to the market, you need to do the feasibility study. You need to prepare a project plan, right? Background of economics is going to give you that dimension of skill where you can prepare your project, you can work on the feasibility, you can develop a business plan while you have worked on the technical aspect using your knowledge of physics and computer. So in the group 2, you can probably go for a subject like economics with physics. Then you have a choice whether you want to go for business studies or mathematics. They may come closer to your area of interest in terms of subject utility part of it. Accounts and geography, I think accountancy again will give you that similar managerial dimension as will be more relevant to the combination that you are considering. Of course, if you have interest in geography, it doesn't stop you and it doesn't create any problem, but more useful will be probably accountancy in the context of the question that you have asked there. And in terms of commerce, political science, chemistry, if you want to go in for a so-called traditionally the pure science subjects, maybe you can, along with physics, you can choose chemistry, you're comfortable with it. If not, maybe commerce with accountancy can be a good option for you to take up. On the third one, of course, because you're interested in computer application, in the 6th group, computer science will be your subject. And that is how probably you need to look into this kind of subject options which are offered to you and take your decision in terms of combination. So this is one query where I try to use the reference list I have. So depending on the school, if you are an M.C.KEJRIWAL, you are wanting to study in M.C.KEJRIWAL, these are the combinations. Otherwise, look at the subject combinations offered in your respective schools and make a choice in the same line and the same dimension. And friends, I think just the right time to get the opinion of our next panelist, because our next panelist comes with a very, very vast experience in the edu space itself. Mr. Neelkant Gupta, Director, M.C.KEJRIWAL School. He's journey in education. He's gone to different parts of the country. He has been internationally and in India. He has been part of the Indian school in Middle East in Muscat. He has been the headmaster, the vice principal in Bishop Cotton in Shimla, the other part of the country. Then he has been in Darjeeling, St. Paul's in Darjeeling, and M.C.KEJRIWAL in Calcutta. Very diverse experience. His experience is also valued by Government of India, Ministry of Human Resource, and they have nominated him and sent him on a special assignment to South Africa as a specialist, academic specialist on UNESCO project, operating from Paris, working for education, rehauling in the South Africa. And that is the kind of background Mr. Neelkant Gupta comes in. So all these NEP, he's the brain behind aligning even in this institution and advising so many groups for aligning it with any new education policy. I think time to hear his perspective on multidisciplinary learning in the light of NEP 2020. Neelkant sir. Abhi, there was a question, and I'm putting that question right here for you. You can probably, Mr. Neelkant Gupta, in my personal association and understanding of languages, he can Hindi, Bengali, French, 5-6 languages come very handy to him. And so there's a question by Isha of the social media. How will multilingualism help in my career? So while you deliberate on it, if you can touch upon, because NEP is emphasizing on multilingualism as well.
Thank you, Amitabh. Good morning, everybody. And two things I want to do before I start sharing my thoughts. Firstly, children, I'm so happy to be addressing you after so many years. The fascinating thing is that these young gentlemen who are at the fag end of class 10 and right now thinking about class 11 subject options, these children were in class 8 the last time I met them, which was in 2020. So great honor and privilege. Lovely opportunity for me to once again touch base with all of you. And the second thing I want to do is I want to gratefully thank our respected chairman, sir, for so kindly including me in this panel. I really don't know whether I deserve to be over here, but chairman, sir, thank you so much. And yes, to get back to what we were saying. Lovely listening to Amitabh sir's thoughts as well as my fellow panelists. Great insights, and I'm sure all of you have found it a very enriching experience. I think the program is unfolding very well. I'll share a few thoughts, but before I do that, Amitabh sir, I have a request, because I have a problem that all old people have, which is if I start talking, I don't know when to stop. So please use your privilege as the moderator to shut me up. Okay. We are talking about multidisciplinary learning in the light of NEP 2020. Very correctly, very rightfully, we are talking about subject options, and we are telling you, children, don't go by, traditional templates. Listen to your heart. See what you want to do. Don't get swayed by societal pressure. After reading the NEP 2020, of course, it offers you multiple choices. It's all about multidisciplinary learning. But there's very important aspect of the NEP, which is very unique. It's got a lot of unique things. One very unique thing is You know, children, NEP is more about the child than the curriculum. Whichever curriculum you go through, whichever board, whether it is the SISKI or whether it is the CBSE or whether it's state boards, it's all about subject, 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 subject. Academics, 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 exams, exams. This is going to be asked, that is going to be asked. This is your question paper format. And this is the scope of the syllabus, etc. But there's no mention of you as the person. NEP shifts the focus from curriculum to the child. And it talks about what you should be as a human being to be able to be a successful, productive, engaged, enlightened citizen of India. Naturally, the focus is on India because it is the country's national education policy. Now, another thing that it talks about is, Amitabh ji has already mentioned about this, that, you know, it talks about skills. Focuses on skills. I'm coming back to that point a little later. Let me go back to the earlier observation about multidisciplinary learning. You know, why do you think today NEP is talking about multidisciplinary learning? Why do you think the whole world is talking about multidisciplinary learning? In fact, in India, it's come a little late in the day because this concept was being deliberated by countries like Finland and Singapore about 20 years ago. But why do you think the focus is shifted from a unidimensional curriculum, from a single dimensional curriculum? Why are we talking about multidisciplinary curriculum? For the simple reason, dear parents, ladies and gentlemen, and children, life is multidisciplinary. The whole universe is multidisciplinary. The world is multidisciplinary. World just does not function on the science stream. World just does not function on the commerce stream. And it's a pity that it took us so long to start talking about it. You know, I pardon my saying so, perhaps I'm coming down a little hard on this, but for years and years and years, we've been asleep. Today, I think we have to be very grateful to the formulators of the national education policy that they have started doing what all human beings with an intellect should have started doing many, many years ago, which is to question. Unquestioningly, we have accepted whatever menu that has been put on our plate. Science stream, commerce stream, humanities stream, whatever. Nobody's really asked, where is this taking us to? Perhaps 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we got away with it. Just focusing on PCM or just focusing on accountancy and commerce and business studies, perhaps we got away with it. We did our PCM, we cracked our IIT JEE or whatever it is, we got away with it. But today what is happening is, India produces 6 lakh engineers, 88% of them are unemployable. 88% of them are unemployable. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children are joining business management institutes. 90% are unemployable. You've got your degree, you've got your piece of paper, you've got your marks, but you're not employable. Why is that happening? For the simple reason, all these years the focus was on a unidimensional discipline or a disciplinary approach. So, NEP very, very correctly says that, look, there's no compartmentalization in life. Specialization does not mean you stop there. Specialization is an aspect of an overall experience. Specialization is, earlier on, a specialized was an end to itself. Today, specialization is a means to something else. Not to say that this concept did not exist. As a matter of fact, if you read Swami Vivekananda on education, we have our own gold mines, and we had forgotten all about them. If you read Sri Aurobindo on education, if you read Gandhiji on education, and most importantly, and I'm going to share that with you, the gentleman on whose birth anniversary we celebrate Teachers' Day, Dr. Radhakrishnan, an eminent educationist. Now, if you read his definition of aim of education, you will see that he's talking about a multidisciplinary approach. With Amitabh sir's permission, I'm quoting him. Dr. Radhakrishnan says, the aim of education is not merely the acquisition of information, though acquisition of technical skills may be important in modern society. What is important? Developing that bent of mind, that attitude of reason, that spirit of democracy, which will make us responsible citizens of our country. Man must practice charity and compassion towards others. And while practicing control, if man does not show love and compassion, he is likely to become demonic and devoid of humanity. Dr. Radhakrishnan said this many years ago. This is a description of a holistic, multidisciplinary curriculum. He's actually saying that you might have all the specializations in the world. You can be the best specialist, but if you're devoid of compassion and charity, then you're not a human being. So we have to look beyond also, children. Like Sudeshna ma'am very rightly said, that right from this stage, you have to start cultivating your personality, your character. And I'll just take up what Sudeshna ma'am said. She said, check your facts. Whatever rubbish comes on WhatsApp, don't accept it. Now, she indirectly reinforced a very important objective of the NEP, which is one of the aims of education is to help you develop critical thinking. Critical thinking. Today's day and age, if you are not capable of critical thinking, then you're going to be an engineer who belongs to that 88% of unemployed engineers. What is critical thinking? It's basically an objective analysis of an issue so that you can make a judgment. So before you just blindly accept something, think, check. Now, can you think critically from a unifocal context? Can you think critically if you know only physics, chemistry, and biology? Critical thinking means you have to have at least an awareness of everything that constitutes life, society, country. You'll need a deep awareness about culture and politics, deep awareness of philosophy and art, deep awareness of history and political science, music. So critical thinking does not happen. Now, so what is NEP saying? That you can be a scientist, you can be an engineer, you can be a doctor, you can be an accountant, you can be an astrophysicist, you can be an astronaut, you can be a computer software engineer, whatever, but you've got to be able to be capable of thinking critically. So there are certain skills that we are talking about, which today, the current rhetoric or the buzzword is 21st century skills. first and foremost among all 21st century skills is communication. That no matter what you're doing, you've got to be able to communicate effectively. Critical thinking, creativity, collaboration. So what is NEP saying? That no matter what you do, that is why they have not gone in for compartmentalization of subjects or streams. They're saying you do whatever you want to. Do whatever subject combination you want to. Why? Because we want you to have, at least at the school level, and as Amitabh says, that this actually also transitions into higher education. This same approach starts from early education, goes right up to the PhD level, which is looking upon life, looking upon everything, looking upon professions, looking upon employment, looking upon everything as one whole, one unified entity. So if you're looking at the 4 21st century skills that's promoted by the NOP, namely communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity, this is cutting across all disciplines. It's not that only the English teacher is going to concentrate on communication. Unfortunately, that is what happens. Whenever a child has to communicate, English teacher train him. Maths teacher should also be able to train him. Maths teacher is also an English-speaking person. When it comes to debating or whatever it is, again, English teacher. Why can't a history teacher train a child for a debating competition or whatever? Because we've got too used to thinking in these slots and compartments. No. That's why NEP says that these, for example, these skills like critical thinking or communication or creativity or collaboration, all subjects should be touching on this. Meaning you're going to reinforce your communication skills, your critical thinking skills, your creativity. And by creativity, I don't mean writing poetry. By creativity, I mean being innovative when it comes to solving problems. Why are we talking about solving problems? Because life is all about solving problems. Those of us who have been in any, whether I've been a classroom teacher, which I've been for many years, or whether I've been a vice principal, or whether I've been a principal, or today, thanks to KK sir's kindness, director, everywhere it is a challenge comes up and you've got to think of solutions to that. And when you're thinking of solutions, you have to fall back on different areas of life. So when we are talking about creativity, 21st century skills, these are the things that I'm not elaborating on them, I'm just giving you the basic labels. Hopefully it'll ignite some sort of resonance in you and you'll be able to, you'll possibly feel motivated enough to say that, okay, Mr. Gupta said these things, let's do a little bit of research and find out more about this. So basically, children, you'll see that multidisciplinary learning, every aspect of your multidisciplinary learning is actually aiming for the same skills. Maths teacher is supposed to handle the 4 C's. English teacher is supposed to handle the 4 C's. What are the 4 C's? Communication, critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration. Geography teacher is also trying for this. So the term, I know I'm using jargon, forgive me for that. The term for this is transversal skills. One line cutting across several parallel situations. That is the thing. If you look at it very simply, you become a very, very high profile astrophysicist or a computer software engineer or whatever. That is one aspect. You still have a home to go back to. In that home, you're either a father or a son or a brother or a husband. So you've got to know something about home, you've got to know something about relationships. In the country, you're a citizen. So would it be good if I don't know anything about how my country runs. You know, what are the different manifestos of different political parties? Ideologies come in, so many things come in. I once read a description of specialization, you know. Specialization is, a specialist is a person who knows more and more about less and less. NEP tries to change this. Really change. And one last point, which is children at all points, and I'm requesting parents to give them this support. Make it about you, as Vasha ma'am said. Make it about you. You ask yourself, what are you interested in? You ask yourself, what is your passion? There's no point in doing computer science when you're not interested in it. Or there's no point in doing physics or whatever when your heart is not there. So at that point, if I'm forcing you the example that Chudeshna ma'am gave, that this gentleman she knew who wanted to be a journalist, but because of parental and societal pressure, he had to join an engineering job, and you see how he had, where he has ended up. So make it about you. You are you. As I said, the most important need in today's life is to critically question things. Just don't swallow something, just don't allow something to be imposed on you. Why am I doing this? Somebody says, I'm not good in computer science, but I still want to do computer science. So, sir, ma'am, tell me how I can do computer science, although children, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not good in something, it means deep down your heart is not there. And how can you build a career on something from where your heart is missing? You can't do that. And the last thing I want to say is this habit of futurizing. Children, at this stage, you're 15 years old, how do you know what the world is going to be like 10 years later? Today you say, I want to become an engineer, I want to become a journalist. At age 15, how can you take a decision about something which is going to take root in 5 years or 10 years? At that point, you might want to change your thinking at all. I'll give you my example. You know, I actually wanted to be a sitar player. I wanted to be a musician. And my total talim, my total training must have exceeded 10,000 hours. More than 10 years I pursued it, along with everything else. I used to do riyaz for 5-6 hours a day, determined to become a concert performer. Determined. People used to say, what do you want to do? I used to say that I want to become a musician. And I'd been taking lessons from age 8, 9. So sometime when I was towards my late teens, I realized I didn't have it in me. I realized I wasn't sufficiently talented to become a full-time musician. And I didn't want to become a musician who just wanted to earn his livelihood by teaching music. And, you know, I had the opportunity of studying at the feet of Ustad Amjad Ali Khan. I used to know Ustad Vilayat Khan's family very well. I've interacted with Pandit Nikhil Banerjee. So those are the times, 60s, 70s, when this was the time, golden period of Indian classical music. That's the time I was growing up. But one day I realized I didn't, and my parents gave me all the support. They said, "Haan, Baba, you want to become a musician? We'll give you all the support." I got all the support. I took responsibility for my own decisions. But then came a time when I realized that I wasn't sufficiently talented. I couldn't possibly be anything more than just a competent mediocre. And I changed track. I became a teacher, and here I am today. So you don't know what's going to happen in future. You really don't know. We don't even know the professions that today we are studying for. We don't even know whether those professions are going to exist. Did we know that coronavirus would happen? Did anybody in his wildest dreams imagine that the whole world would be locked down for 2 years? And now this RT-PCR and what rapid antigen test. These have become part of our vocabulary. For everything, it's RT-PCR, 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 vaccination, vaccine. Did we ever imagine that life would become like this? So children, it's pointless. Do what your heart says, do certainly, but keep that in mind that, today professions that we are preparing ourselves may not exist 5 years later or 10 years later. Then what do you do? Already so many professions are obsolete. They don't exist anymore. What happened? There was a time, when there used to be photo developing studios. There used to be travel agencies. You wanted to fly to take it, you would go to James Warren and on Park Street, go and say, look, I want a ticket to Delhi. By hand, the traffic assistant would, or the reservations clerk would write out the ticket, with 4 or 5 copies, and it used to be a major. Children, you don't even know about those days. What happened? Today you want to buy a train ticket or a plane ticket, you sit at a computer and there it is. You don't even need printouts. Today at the airport, you can show your boarding pass on the phone. Did we ever imagine this would happen? What happened to gramophone records and what happened to video cassette recorders? What happened to faxes? What happened to teleprinters? Children, you haven't even heard of those things. But when we were children, those were, we used to look at them as if, just the way you look at an iPhone 13 Pro, Max Pro, or whatever you call those things. It goes on and on. We used to look at a teleprompter like this, or not a teleprompter, a teleprinter. So children, under the circumstances, and I said, it's pointless. You have to do what you're doing. You have to focus on the task at hand. You have to see to it that you have all the skills, communication skills, critical thinking skills, creativity skills, collaboration skills. You have these, you're ready for any eventuality. So I'll just wind this up with a favorite guiding light. I'll just share this with you. This is about, and this is an educator, American educator called John Holt. He predicted this, as I said, all this thought, all this thinking had been done many years ago by many people. It's just that nobody took them seriously. Today, we find ourselves with our backs against the wall, so we are taking them seriously. See what John Holt said. Since we can't know what knowledge will be most needed in the future, it is senseless to try and teach it in advance. Instead, we should try to turn out people who love learning so much and learn so well that they will be able to learn whatever needs to be learned in the future. So children, if you can make this piece of advice your go-to mantra, you'll be able to cope with any challenge that life throws up. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Neelkant Gupta, sir, for such wonderful and insightful deliberation. Friends, the whole life is multidisciplinary. The whole word is multidisciplinary. When he made that statement right at the opening part of his deliberation, a thought came to my mind. When we interact with our young friends like you all, some of you come and say, sir, I want to become a doctor. I said, very nice. Why? Sir, I want to earn good money and doctors earn good money. So how will you go about doing that? So I'll become a doctor, I'll open my nursing home or a hospital, and I'll earn good money. So I said, when you open your nursing home, what will you do? You'll cure less, manage more. Understand what I'm trying to get across to you. I have a friend who's set up one of the leading hospitals here in Calcutta. He hails from Allahabad. And I went for some problem that I had. He said, see, I don't look into that anymore. There are doctors who are doing it. And he is running one of the popular hospitals. Friends, what I'm trying to get across to you is that is the importance of multidisciplinary aspect. When you run your nursing home, जब आप अपना अस्पताल चलाएंगे, नर्सिंग होम चलाएंगे, तो आपको वहाँ के अकाउंट्स भी समझने पड़ेंगे, क्योंकि वो आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं दवाई में खर्चे ज़्यादा हो रहे हैं और आपको अपने घर में 6 महीने बाद खाना बांधने पड़ जाएंगे. And that is where you have to understand accounts, you have to understand management, you have to understand its relevance. And that is where physics and bio with accounts and commerce and economics becomes very relevant and important skill. Not trying to get into any controversial statement, but कुछ साल पहले एक इंडस्ट्री वेस्ट बंगाल में आने की कोशिश कर रही थी. टेक्नोलॉजी बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री, सबसे छोटी कार, राइट? और जब वो यहाँ पे आई तो सब लोग बहुत एक्साइटेड थे, लेकिन शायद वहाँ पे वो टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत अच्छी थी, उनका इंजीनियरिंग की अंडरस्टैंडिंग बहुत अच्छी थी, उन्होंने उसकी फिजिबिलिटी भी देख ली, लेकिन शायद एक जगह पे उनकी प्लानिंग मिस हो गई, that organization. And that is, they did not do a proper study of socio-political environment of West Bengal and Calcutta. And because they did not make a proper study of socio-political environment, losses worth crores. And that is why when you do engineering, sociology becomes relevant, economics becomes relevant, geography becomes relevant. Hence, multidisciplinary learning becomes so very important for us. And that is where, when you make your choices of subjects now, look into that multidisciplinary dimension. आप जिसमें interested हैं वो कीजिए, और it's a competitive word, कि और कौन से रास्ते आपके खुल सकते हैं उसको ध्यान में रखिए. कैसे आप एडिशनल सब्जेक्ट्स जो आप लें वो आपके जो इंटरेस्ट एरिया है उसमें भी यूजफुल हो और आगे के रास्ते भी खुलता चला जाए. से फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, मैथ्स विद इकोनॉमिक्स, एक जो आपका प्योर साइंस रिलेटेड करियर्स हैं वो भी रास्ते आपके खुल गए. और आपने जब उसमें मैथ्स का डायमेंशन ऐड किया तो कल को अगर आपको इकोनॉमिक्स ऑनर्स करना है, आपको कॉमर्स करना है, दैट बैकग्राउंड ऑफ इकोनॉमिक्स एंड मैथ्स टुगेदर is going to give you a good support when you take up commerce or economics or other humanities subject, or when you do management in future. That is how you need to now look at the subject combination. Forgive my, because we are in a transition, so some things are with the current context. Many colleges in Delhi would require maths as an eligibility for psychology honors, right? So if you have physics, if you're taking physics and maths, and with that you're taking psychology or economics, you're keeping your eligibility even for those courses. I'm sure those eligibilities, when they get aligned to NEP, will become flexible. But then right now, that is what the state is, and that is where we need to look into various dimensions. I know our panel, I could see Sudeshna ji was connecting with something that Mr. Neelkant Gupta was mentioning at that point of time. And so would you like to add a point?
I'll come back to a question that was put to the panel a while back about the need for multilingualism. So how does that help? I'll give you a few examples, not just on multilingualism, but how having extracurricular interests also add up to a person's development. Now, in my days at Jadavpur University, it struck my fancy that I want to learn a language. So I picked up French, and I ended up doing diplôme, which is the diploma in French, and I happened to top my batch. And then by then I had become a journalist. Now you can ask me how is that going to help me, because my skill sets, I write in English. How does that help me? Down the years, I ended up covering consulates, diplomatic affairs. And the Alliance Française and the French consulates happen to be, very regular places that I go to, and they have French authors coming, French artists coming, even the diplomats who come directly from France. The best way to break ice with them is I start out speaking in their language, and that immediately, adds to a level of comfort and friendliness. Of course, 20 5 years after I finished the diploma, I am not so fluent in the language anymore to hold an entire interview in the language, but I still retain enough grasp to, do the first questions like, where are you from? How many, is this your first trip to India? All that we do in their native language. And that eases, them which makes for a good interview, that they feel comfortable. How does that help? Some in recent times there was, you must have seen in the newspapers, the Rafale deal was in the, in focus. And that piece of investigative journalism was done in France by French newspapers. And my editor knew that I had some grasp of the language. So late at night when those news articles broke, I was forwarded the actual transcript of what came out in France. And he asked me to make a sense of what is it that they are saying. Of course, some of the English newspapers were already carrying, and time is at essence because Europe is about 5-6 hours later than us. And when their news broke, we were already close to our deadline. And it helped that, yes, I had some grasp of the knowledge. I could tell the editor, this is what they are saying. And that helped him to, prepare the next day's front page, which way it should go. So that's my little contribution, but 25 years earlier, the skill I had picked up, it had not left me, it helped me. I'll also emphasize on the need to, how you improve yourself. It's all right, the subjects you choose, those are important, but also work on yourself. How do you do that? For the sake of brevity, I'll just pick a few things that I did down the years as a student. What do I look back to with the biggest, as a character changer that helped me in school? Not any subject, not any exam marks, but I look to the 2 weeks I spent at the National Integration Camp as an NCC cadet. I was a corporal. I was very lucky that my mother had that trust as a class 8 student to send me for 2 weeks. It was my first time away from, my parents on my own, on a train with 200 other national NCC cadets from Bengal to spend 2 weeks in the innermost recesses of Andhra Pradesh, in a village school we were put up. It had no electricity connection. It was the peak of summer, 45 degrees Celsius. There was no bed, nothing. We were just given a blank classroom on the floor. No ceiling fan, there was no electricity, no lights, because it was a daytime school. They didn't need all that. They didn't need lights. So we spent two weeks in that condition. There was no running water in the toilet they had. A tanker would come twice every day, and we had to take our containers. We were asked to carry our utensils and a bucket. So we used to line up and take water from the container, and 200 of Bengal cadets, 200 from Andhra Pradesh cadets. Each room was divided into 2 halves. We did that amongst ourselves. The Bengal girls stayed at one side of the room, and we placed our bags in front. That was kind of, okay, this is our share of the room. And the Telugu girls, they stayed on the other side of the room. And since I was, so curious, that is one quality you need to be a journalist. You have to be curious. Absolutely. So I wanted to know about them. Language was a problem. The first thing they came in and said, no English, no Hindi, only Telugu. Sorry, I am not making fun of the language. It's a wonderful language, and I spent those 2 weeks learning the rudiments. And it made friends with them. I used to have lunch with them. I used to show objects to them, and they used to tell me the Telugu, like rice would be annam, water would be niru. I picked that up, and one day we were asked to spend at a farmer's house. All of us, in groups of 6, we were let off at a farmer's house, basic farmer's house. And we were asked to spend a day there. And those people, it was a coastal village, so they had peanut business, many of them. So we were spending a day, amid sacks of peanuts. And when it was time for lunch, one of the girls, the lady of the house gave us curd, which is very popular in the south. And she was so happy because we were having, food not to our liking. It was sour, everything was sour. And she was so happy for the curd, she wanted some salt. But there was no way she could make the lady of the house understand what it was she was saying. Salt she doesn't understand, nimak, noon. So then I realized what the problem was, and from my Telugu friends I had already picked up it's unnu. So I said unnu, and the lady's face lit up, and she immediately brought salt. So interpersonal skills are also very necessary.
Right.
NCC is one. Another thing is music. I did 4 years of classical music. I couldn't complete the Sangeet Prabhakar because my Madhyamik was there. But I remember the first time as a rookie journalist, I was sent out to interview Shubha Mudgalji. And of course, seeing a young person, at first her answers were short because she was trying to make out how much I could grasp. But when she realized that, from my responses that I was getting what she was saying, she stopped and asked, do you have training? And I told her, ma'am, I have done this much. And that helped her open up so much. I had been given 15 minutes for the interview. She spoke to me for 1 hour. In those days, Telegraph used to bring out a supplement called ETC, which is kind of the predecessor of the T2 that you see today. And it was kind of an unwritten rule that ETC did not have the range that T2 has today. It includes food, lifestyle, all that wasn't there. ETC was primarily entertainment, television, and music. That was the first time when I filed my interview, the editor said, okay, I am displacing the Bollywood star's interview that was slotted for the cover page. This is the first time I am taking music on the front page because it deserves that space. So that is how, I thanked my mother that day that she had the foresight to, because I had a tuneful voice, she sent me to Bengal Music College. So that's how it helped. And lastly, Amitabh ji very kindly mentioned my interest in sports. How does that help? I am not a sports journalist. But what I started doing is, because I used to attend every international match, and I used to come back and I used to write for Metro. I still am with the Metro department, which is the city news section. I started writing on, I showed him my first piece that, of course, it's not infringing on what the sports journalists, my colleagues, would be doing. Hello, hello, hello. Am I audible? Yeah. So I started writing gallery pieces, how the day's event unfolded through the eyes of the various kinds of people in the gallery. So it was a different kind of a perspective which did not impinge on what my colleagues in the sports department were writing. It was completely a mood-based thing. And I'm proud to say that in those days, there was no other paper which used to write that kind of sports reports. But gradually it became a part of it. The crowd that goes into the stadium, their mood, who they are, they want to see, who they follow, the flag, the people who sell the flags, what their perspectives are, which IPL team's flag sells the most. I have been to the houses of these people who sell those flags. They usually stay at a refugee colony near the airport. So this comes from my interest, and that's how it has helped me, contribute to the profession I am in today because of my interest. That's all I wanted to say. So develop interests as much as you can, and as I said, read, follow your interests. Don't just stay stuck comes in your WhatsApp group, please. It's not going to help. I mean, it sounds parochial, but I would say that, yeah, a newspaper helps in the thing that even if you like only the sports page, but because the whole package comes in your hand, you are forced to see what the front page has. Even if you don't like those subjects, those headlines stay in your head. And and every aspect of life, you develop an interest in, or at least even if you don't have the interest, you develop an awareness because you are turning the pages and it's all there. That's all I had to say for now. Thank you.
Sir, surely, sir. Please. Sure.
First of all, moderator sir, my apologies for Buddhism, but then Shudeshna ma'am answered it so brilliantly. I was so focused on NEP that, I just wanted to add two things to what Shudeshna ma'am said about the benefits of knowing language or a foreign language or whatever. That is, I'm sharing my experience. Apart from anything else, apart from the practical professional point of view, that if you learn a language, for example, if you learn a language like French or German, you can always become an interpreter or a translator or whatever. But personally, what I saw is that the act of learning or the experience of learning a language sharpens your intellect. It improves your memory. Because every time, imagine you have a vocabulary of, let's say, 10,000 or 20,000 words in your main language, like English or Bangla or Hindi or whatever. Now, if you want to think as capably as you think in your own language, you've got to develop naturally a vocabulary which is as rich as the vocabulary of your main language. So it's like actually adding another whole world to your mind. So automatically that process sharpens, hones your memory, and a good memory helps you. And this is what I was telling you about transversal skills, that a set of skills common to all subjects and common to all disciplines. So good memory will help you in every subject and every discipline that you're doing. And the second thing is that one of the 21st century skills is cross-cultural understanding. So every time you learn, for example, Shudeshna ma'am will bear me out, when you go to the Alliance Française to study French, you learn about a whole new culture. Their food, their norms, their lifestyle, their institutions, everything. So one whole world is being added to your existing mental world. So that automatically it enriches life, because you're getting to know something about another country, another culture. So,
hello, 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 hello.
To know which skill is going to become relevant when you grow in this journey. Now, I think our audience and viewers have for a long time waiting for their queries. The question is, my son is choosing accounts, commerce, economics, history, and psychology. I repeat, accounts, commerce, economics, history, and psychology, with English being a compulsory subject, right? I would like to know, how would these subject combination be helpful in future? So there is a combination this child is having, where there is accounts and commerce, and there is a humanities subjects, so-called humanities subjects, because I would not like to classify them into any stream, because we don't want to. But then from a common parlance, psychology, history, economics, with commerce and accounts. So what kind of future you see for this child?
When I got into the hotel industry, I had no basic knowledge of commerce and accounts, because that was not my forte ever. So when I started getting into revenue generation system because I took up the sales and marketing. I was heading a huge department with turnover in crores that I was given as target. And I had a very basic team to work with, but then my experience comes in there. So my boss tells me, you're going to head the memberships and the banqueting and the catering. So which means if I have to sell something, I must also be able to evaluate the cost price for the selling price. So considering that I had no accountancy background, I had no clue on calculations till then. So there was something like an MIS system. So I got down to that. So before I start selling, my boss says, you need to be hands-on on the accounting system. You have to understand the basics before you sell the product. So you must also know what is it that you bring to the table, end of the day. So when you deliver a product to a client, apart from the customer satisfaction, what is it that the company in terms of revenue gains from it? So that is how I also took up accounts and I started understanding procurement cost, overhead cost, wage cost, operational cost, a lot of other things. I am not a person who was an accounts background again, but how it helped me, I could tell you. So when I was started working on the revenue system, targeting, marketing, etc., I started understanding what is my SOP, what is my bottom line. I mean, what is it that I can spend to bring that revenue to the system. So accountancy, as your child wants to take up, see, there are so many other skills that he will develop from the other subjects. I don't know if accounts and maths would be his primary maybe. Right. So when he is taking up the other alternative subjects, he can take up so many jobs. He could have banking opportunities. He can work with corporates. You know, he can be an entrepreneur because he has a background of accounts which is primarily important for him, and apart from it, he's got other things that he has taken up which will help him work with corporates, and he will do very well because he's taken up alternates also. So if he is going to very religiously also take that up, he will do well in a corporate field, in a banking sector, in corporate sector, in the IT sector.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Varshaji. And Shobhaji, I hope your question is answered. Just to add to what and emphasize on what she said, I think it's a very interestingly balanced and poised combination, which opens up opportunity with where the commerce and accounts is directly relevant. Also, as she emphasized that she was not with a commerce and accounts person, but as she grew in life as a career, as a professional, she realized the importance and the need for it. And that's where she had tried to build that skill. So if he takes up that combination in 11th, 12th itself, he has wider zone of career opportunities opening. Plus, whichever field he goes, the other one provides that multidisciplinary advantage to him to adapt and excel in the career field. Right. Thank you so much. Friends, going to the next question, and I'll take this question to Neelkant Gupta, sir, that it's a very interestingly poised. It's someone from our social media platform has raised this question. Interesting and important. Nitin Agarwal asked this question. NEP is common for all boards. So why should one prefer a specific board, CBSE, ISC or whatever? Should there be a preference to any particular board?
Great question. You see, ultimately, and this is something that is being feared by boards also, you see, there will come a time when every board and every state will have to follow a national curriculum. Now, if the NEP is, the government of India is saying that there's going to be one national curriculum, then where is the relevance of CISKI, or where is the relevance of West Bengal Board, or where is the relevance of even CBSE? Because now, what differentiates the different boards? It's the curriculum, you see. So now, but if every board will have to follow a common curriculum, then the relevance of the different education boards actually reduce. So that was a big question mark, and as a matter of fact, I remember I attended a meeting with Mr. Jerry Aratun soon after the NEP was finalized. He said, This way what's going to happen is we may foresee a time when there are no boards. And right now, National Council for Educational Research and Training, that's NCERT, they formulate the curriculum and they formulate the textbooks and the programs, everything that's followed by the CBSE in collaboration with them. But then if you are a SISKI school or if you're a state board school, then you're not, it's not compulsory for you to follow what NCERT is saying. There's also a state version of NCERT, which is SCERT, which is the State Council for Education, Research and Training. Now, if the whole thing is going to be centralized under one central umbrella organization, then strictly speaking, and of course people are being quite, diplomatic about this because it hasn't really been brought out of the closet. But this is what I've felt and this is what I've gathered from my conversations with various experts, which is these boards ultimately will be relegated to just exam administering authorities or exam administering organizations. And that too, it's the National Testing Agency that's going to actually develop the questions. Absolutely. So by and large, as I said, if things evolve the way they are evolving, there will not be any kind of dividing line or boundary between the different boards. The different CBSE is going to naturally continue to enjoy primacy. The remaining boards in most cases will be merely conducting organizations, or at the most they will be setting the question papers based on what the national curriculum demands.
Thank you so much, sir. And to add to what you said, I think it's very important as a context for all of us to understand that when we're talking about which board is better, there is a reason why this debate in the first place got generated long back. It is, with all due respect to a particular segment of education, that is coaching industry, has tried to market a particular board that was becoming convenient for them to align. That is also before 2013, prior to that, because the curriculums had variance. In the year 2013, the government has come up with a board where there was a unified common curriculum for 11th and 12th was set up, forming a COPSE as a body where representatives of all boards in the country were part of formulating a single curriculum and a single syllabus. And from that time onwards, this debate was put to rest, which curriculum is better, because in 11th, 12th, every board teaches the same syllabus, same curriculum, right? And that is where which is a better curriculum or a lesser, one may be using X book, and other may be using Y book, right? Also, when we talk about this, which board is better, कुछ लोग कहते हैं नहीं हमारे यहाँ ज़्यादा अच्छा पढ़ाया जाता है. अगर बायोलॉजी में फिश पढ़ाई जा रही, एनाटॉमी पढ़ाई जा रही है, तो वो एनाटॉमी सीबीएसई और आईएससी में बदल नहीं जाएगी, वो एनाटॉमी ही रहेगी, राइट? वो वेन से ही इम्प्योर ब्लड निकलेगा, आर्टरी से नहीं निकलेगा. Right? And so that is where there are certain things which are standard. It's just perception which is more of a problem. So it's never about the board. It is always about the school. It is about the teacher. It is about your connect with the teacher and the education provided in that school. So whichever school you are in, if you're happy with the education and environment, don't worry about the board. And as Neelkant sir pointed out, in times to come, it will not be board. It will be a exam. Schools will have National Testing Agency, which will have a standard paper which will be used across boards, and all schools and all boards will be the coordinating bodies and administering bodies following single curriculum and single syllabi, right? So it is not going to be about board anymore. और अगर आप मेरे, if you allow, subject में हम लोग जातिवाद ना लाएं तो अच्छा है. एजुकेशन में जातिवाद ना लाएं तो अच्छा है कि हम ISC जाति के हैं और हम CBSE जाति के हैं, I think that's going to be the biggest crime that we are going to commit. राम कहो, रहीम कहो, अल्लाह कहो, जीसस कहो, कुरान पढ़ो, बाइबल पढ़ो, रामायण पढ़ो, गीता पढ़ो, everyone says be good to all, right? And so सब जगह पे पढ़ाई सेम है. It's about वो पंडित मौलवी और पादरी हैं, यानी कि जो यहाँ पे आपके टीचर्स हैं, वो आपको कितनी प्योरिटी से उस सिलेबस को आप तक पहुँचाते हैं, कितना मीनिंगफुल बना करके वो आप तक पहुँचाते हैं. दैट इज मोर इम्पॉर्टेंट. इट इज़ नॉट अबाउट द सिलेबस, इट इज़ नॉट अबाउट द करिकुलम. सो प्लीज़ डोंट वरी अबाउट द बोर्ड. अच्छे स्कूल में पढ़िए, जिस भी बोर्ड से पढ़िए, इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू मैटर मच फॉर यू. इवन देयर इज नो एडवांटेज डिसएडवांटेज इन द कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स. जो अच्छा पढ़ेगा उसका सिलेक्शन होगा. गो बाय द स्टैटिस्टिक्स. ICSE CBSE सारे बोर्ड्स में से जो पढ़ता है उसका सिलेक्शन होता है. जो नहीं पढ़ता है वो कहता है फलाने बोर्ड के ज़्यादा था, वो उसको एक्सक्यूज की तरह से यूज़ करता है. सो प्लीज़ डू नॉट वरी अबाउट दोज डायमेंशंस एट ऑल. So going to the next question, and this time I've picked up two questions, one from our online and one from our physical mode audience. So in physical mode, this question is from Aritra Kumar, and in online it is Ronit Kumar in the online, that is student. And so the questions are similar, so I'm picking at them together. Sir, I'm reading Aritra's query. All right, Aritra is there. I happen to be passionate about being theoretical physicist and happen to harbor a lot of interest in physics and mathematics. Please provide some advice upon my choice of fourth subject, considering I harbor interest in both computers and biology. Ronit's question is, I'm fascinated by the fact how scientists find cure to deadly disease, very relevant in today's context. I want to research on medicines. Please suggest what are the subjects I can opt. Now, coming to Aritra's context, that Aritra, because you're interested in physics and maths, right? If you have similar interest, you want to, thank you. If you want to study or research medicine side of it, also, if you want to get into genetics or you want to get into biotechnology, which has good enough relevance of maths and physics as an integration in the learning of biotechnology, if you want to go in for something like that, maybe then fourth subject bio would be a useful subject for you to take in that context. But then if you say, no, that is not the kind of line that I want to go for, then your computers get an edge over biology in that context. So that is how you need to look into it. Now, coming to Ronit, in the similar, Ronit, I'm expanding on what I said in the context of Aritra. If you are interested in primarily researching medicine, you can have two routes to it. One is you take up medicine as a, you do MBBS, go for MD or MS, and then go for medical research through that route, and you can go get into researching medicine after becoming a doctor itself also, going in for higher studies and going in for a research. Fields like in medical microbiology and all can be very interesting areas if you want to go in that dimension at a later stage. If you are not wanting to go for a medical route, then you can consider doing PCM and going for doing engineering in biotechnology or biomedical science. Even in this multidisciplinary approach, already these subjects were there, and now you have say in IIT Guwahati and other places, you have a department of biomedical engineering, right? Where so you can specialize in biomedical engineering, you can specialize in biotechnology. So those kind of areas can be interesting area. Aritra, with your context, there are subjects like biophysics, geophysics. So if you're interested in biophysics kind of a subject, then again bio may become relevant along with your interest in physics. So maybe you can do a little more homework and see if you would be interested in those kind of areas, and accordingly you can make a choice of your subject, right? Now, before we take more, okay. Before we go in further, I would like to pick on journalistic point of view of Sudeshna ji. That Sudeshna ji, all these discussions that we have, NAP, the flexibility, what is the, you people in the media sector are taking public opinion. So what do you see is the general public opinion about this new education policy and how things are taking shape further?
This is definitely a step in the right direction. But for this to be successful, the recipients, that is the students and the guardians, they have to open their minds to it. Because our policy makers can only make the policies. They cannot, spoon feed what their dreams and visions are unless you are open to it also. I was talking to Sir just now before coming here, and I hear that still the guardians are in the frame of, despite having so many options, they are still taking just the science subjects or just the pure commerce subjects. That is if everyone ends up doing that, I mean, there's no harm if you want to go in engineering or you still want to, carry on with the normal traditional modes. But if everyone goes into the same line, then whatever policy comes from the center, and you are having this golden opportunity that you belong to a generation which is getting offered this. I mean, I had friends who have been, crying horse. They teach at Oxford University. How there they have the option of attending, I mean, whatever, subjects they choose, they have the option of attending even the lectures of courses that they have not applied for, just to increase their perspective. If they have a free time, they have an hour, they have the schedule in front of you, no one stops them if they just sit at the back bench and listens to a lecture. I mean, some of our teachers were the brightest from Oxford and Cambridge and Harvard at Jadavpur University. And I remember in my MA classes, the syllabus changed, and lots of electives came in instead of the straitjacket, first paper, second paper, third paper. The last two papers were broken into subsections and electives were offered. And in one of the classes, we were taught the use of Newton's laws in the painting of the Romantic era. I was in English literature. Can you think of the range that, I got exposed to doing, listening to those lectures? The teacher happened to be a Cambridge University graduate, and she used to say this is the kind of interdisciplinary learning that we were exposed to. So we want to do that to you also. And now that, you have a changed syllabus and we have the scope to do this, why not? That day I went back and read up on Newton. Of course, not physics books, but I read up enough to understand the kind of what optics meant, how the refraction of light, how the painters use that in their, usage of the light and shadow and the anatomy, how much that affected the painters of that age, in the countryside landscape painting that they did. So that's what the proponents of this policy are wanting you to, grasp. So please don't stick to the age-old ideas. Then you are letting go of a golden chance.
Thank you so much for so beautifully sharing that holistic perspective. Policy has an intention, but they cannot spoon feed you. We have to work on our own thoughts, looking into our interest. We need to inform ourselves. This Career Conclave 2022, hosted by M.C.KEJRIWAL Vidyapeeth School, is an initiative to trigger the thought, to create an opportunity to give you information, to give you a direction so that you can take the right choice. Because you should have career by choice, not by chance. And that is where we aspire you to be informed so that you can take informed decision. And that was the whole purpose of this interaction today. I know there are a lot of questions which are here on my table. वो कहते हैं ना, हर फूल कब गुलाब होंगे, ऐसे भी चंद सवाल होंगे, लेकिन क्या हर सवाल के जवाब होंगे? There are few questions always which are going to remain unanswered, but maybe right now in this formal session, if any one of you have a question, I'm not going to leave till I answer your question after we formally close this session. All your questions will be answered. So those who want your questions to be answered, even when we close, you stay there and we will take all your questions and all your queries will be answered. Those of you who are in online mode, I'm taking this initiative. We had discussion with the chairman of M.C.KEJRIWAL also. We will try to create sequel where we will have students asking questions. It will be question answer session on various subject choices, and we'll use our online platform to inform and educate everyone. So we will use that. We will try to, the questions we have collected, we'll try to respond also on the social media platforms so that you get all your answers and your queries are satisfied. दोस्तों कहते हैं ना, सिखाता टीचर भी है और सिखाती जिंदगी भी है. फर्क सिर्फ इतना है, टीचर सिखा के इम्तहान लेता है और ज़िंदगी इम्तहान लेके सिखाती है. और ये जो न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी है, कोटिंग बैक नीलकांत सर, दैट इट्स अबाउट यू. कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि हम अनइन्फॉर्म्ड डिसीजन ले लें, कोई की पुराने माइंडसेट से ले लें और चेंजेस से अपने को अलाइन ना करें. तो हमको वो शेर याद आ रहा है, सिर्फ एक कदम गलत उठाता राह शौक में, सिर्फ एक कदम गलत उठाता राह शौक में, रास्ते ताउम्र मंजिलें खोजते रहे. वन रॉन्ग डिसीजन, one wrong subject choice, and you will have difficulty realigning yourself to do something that you are interested in, because you have not taken an informed decision, because you have not made an informed choice at the right time when you could have informed yourself and taken a decision. हम फिर आते रहेंगे आपके पास हमेशा की तरह. On behalf of MC Kejriwal, thank you so much. But then my job, that our Master of Ceremony today, who's also the school captain of M.C.KEJRIWAL Vidyapeeth School, Mohammad Shahid Dair, who has handed over the responsibility of being a moderator of this session to me. Thank you so much, Mohammad Shahid. Now I'm done my job. I hope to your satisfaction and expectation. Over to you. The platform is yours.
Thanks a lot, sir. It has been quite a fascinating morning. Personally, I learned a lot. I took notes. Ma'am Sudeshna Banerjee, the analogy of salt and sugar, that was a good one. Keeping your words in mind, I would do my best to be a good salt. The call for using common sense, doing everything mindfully, improving oneself all the time, everything touched a chord. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the talk. Varsha, ma'am, instead of being scared of making the most out of the challenges and opportunities that life throws at you, opportunities often come disguised as obstacles. Neelkant Gupta. First and foremost, I would just like to state, no matter what amount of time you spend in his company, it could just be a couple of minutes, you would still come back enriched. You saw the beginning. That was a lesson in humility. Life is all about problem solving. Learn about transversal skills. Habit of futurizing. I hope my parents are listening. And of course, we got to thank our chairman, sir, for having this wonderful session. Please, at least we can give a round of applause to everyone. Okay, it's enough talk. I need to go back on my MC duties. So I will now request our respected chairman, sir, to felicitate the guest speakers. Sir, if you'd kindly oblige. Sudeshna ma'am, first if we would go in the same order actually. Then we have Varsha Karunakaran ma'am. Please. Mr. Neelkan Gupta. And finally, our moderator, psychologist Amitabh Mohan. Thank you, sir. You may take your seat. Higher education is the fulcrum to build a sustainable nation. NEP 2020 stresses accelerating a learning journey for students that shall help them engage in innovation. This helps the nation to become self-reliant and solve its problems with robust solutions, and for the individual to become economically independent. Thank you so much for investing your time this Saturday morning. You all have been a lovely audience. Before I take my leave, I would request our respected headmaster, Mr. Bishwajit Majumdar, to deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day ahead.
Thank you, Shahid. A very good afternoon to all of you. I feel extremely honored to have been given this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion, Career Conclave 2022. At the outset, let me invoke and offer my unfathomable thanks to the Almighty for being our pilot and maker of this beautiful world. May I have the pleasure of offering my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed panelists and the moderator for being the immense source of inspiration for our children and the audience. I would like to convey my thanks to Mrs. Sudeshna Banerjee ma'am, the Associate Editor, The Telegraph, for honoring us and making the conclave one of its kind. Thank you, ma'am. My deepest thanks to Mrs. Varsha Karunakaran ma'am, Assistant General Manager, Sales and Marketing, Conclave Club Ambuja Nevotia, for gracing the occasion and guiding so many young hearts. Thanks a lot, ma'am. My special thanks to Mr. Neelkan Gupta, our director, sir, for accepting our request to be one of the panelists and allow us to have a glimpse of the vast knowledge of sea to all of us. Thank you, sir. I wish I could thank into words for the very driving force for this entire conclave, which has been the most successful one, I believe. Our very own psychologist, Amitabh Mohan, founder and MD, HLS India. Sir, it's our friend, philosopher, and guide in the real sense of the term. Thank you, sir, for leading the entire session and being the moderator. Let us thank our venerated chairman, sir, Shri Kishan Kumar Kejriwal ji. I have no apt words, sir, to do so. Sir, all I can say is kindly accept our profound reverence and thanks for being our captain. I would like to convey my sincere thanks to our CEO, sir, Parthasarathi Chakraborty, for being an immense source of inspiration. Thanks a lot, sir. My deepest thanks to our revered director, sir, Mr. Neelkan Gupta, for his wisdom and meticulous and acute sense of observation, which makes every show a perfectly perfect in every way. Thank you, sir. My thanks to our principal, ma'am, Mrs. Malika Mukherjee, who is an epitome of true leader and guiding force for all of us. Thank you, ma'am. My special thanks to Abhay, sir, for being a part of every endeavor to our institution. My thanks to Aparna, ma'am, our HR ma'am, for being the source of constant support. My dear students, you have been the nucleus and the heart of this very event. May God bless all of you and you prosper in your life. My thanks to our Parents, for being a part of our journey in every endeavor. My vote of thanks will be incomplete if I do not mention about the entire excellent, competent IT team, activity coordinators, administrative department, and teachers involved to make this career seminar a successful one. Thank you, everybody. And our ancillary staff deserves a special mentions. Thanks to this beautiful audience, both virtually and physical mode. Thank you, everybody, and please stay healthy and take care. Thank you.
Those of you who have any questions still left, I'll just come and be in that corner. You can come to me and ask your clarifying questions. Right?
Parents and students are requested to leave the auditorium from the front gate. Teachers will be guiding you. Parents and students are requested to leave the auditorium using the front gate. Teachers are going to guide you.
Doubts were dispelled. Who attended the program, I am sure they might go home happy, and I think that they are armed to make informed choices, and they all will do.